This is East Idaho Newsmakers with Nate Eaton.
Thanks for joining us today. We are talking with Anne Voilleque. If you have been in Idaho Falls for any amount of time and been to the symphony or another arts performance, you probably have seen Anne or know that she is actively involved. Thanks for coming in here, Anne, and speaking with me today.
Nice to be here, Nate. Thank you.
Now, let's start at the beginning. Were you born and raised in Idaho Falls?
Oh, no.
Okay, tell me about that.
No, I was born in Los Angeles. I'm one of those Californians that we despair moving to Idaho.
Yeah.
I then lived in New York, New Jersey, Illinois, high school in Bermuda.
Wow.
College in Boulder, Colorado, and Ann Arbor, Michigan, and then finally Idaho Falls.
And what brought you here?
Well, my ex-husband worked at the site. He got a job at the site. And so we came here in 1967. I think that's 51 years ago. I think I'm pretty close.
Oh my.
I may be off a year.
After living in all of those big cities and lots of people in all of those cities, what were your thoughts about coming to Idaho Falls, Idaho?
Well, you know, my ex was from Silverton, Colorado, which is a very tiny little mining town in southern Colorado. And I had visited there. But I really enjoyed it here. I thought it was wonderful. We immediately made friends. I remember going to Totfus Park about the first week I was here with my tennis racket and picked up some ladies that I played tennis with for years after that. And, you know, just got involved in the community.
And you have been very involved with the community.
Yes, very much so.
Let's talk about the Idaho Falls Symphony. That's something near and dear to your heart.
Absolutely.
Well, how did you get involved with the symphony?
Oh gosh, I don't know. We just started doing fundraising, and it was 20, maybe 30 years ago. Came on the board, did a lot of fundraising. I just loved the fact that there was a symphony here. That to me was just amazing. The beginnings of the symphony were really based on the fact that the site was here. Back in the early 50s, you had a lot of captive wives and husbands who played instruments. They started an orchestra, started a symphony, so I got involved. My daughter played violin and was very interested in that, music for that reason. But it's a wonderful organization. It has grown exponentially in the last 50 years. Just amazing.
Yeah. And it's not, your passion isn't just for the symphony, but for all arts, it seems.
Oh yeah. Visual.
How have you seen Idaho Falls change and grow as far as that scene in the time that you've been here?
A lot. We've built the Art Museum, which we affectionately call TAM, the Art Museum of Eastern Idaho, which is down by the river. Beautiful, beautiful facility. We're working now on restoring the Civic Auditorium. The Museum of Idaho has been created. All of those things have just given the city such a, I think, sophisticated and artistic tone that you just don't see in cities this size very often. And I've been to a lot of them. I've been around a lot, and I think Idaho Falls can hold its head up to some of the better places in the country.
You're also a big supporter of Idaho Public Television.
Yeah.
Don't you? Is it true that when they do their fundraisers, you match dollar for dollar?
I have a match. I have a fun match with my friend Judy Meyer up in northern Idaho. Judy's from Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls actually. And we were involved in the American Association of University Women a long time ago. Would have been about 30 years ago. And became friends and kept in touch. And at some point I was at an Idaho Humanities dinner in Boise and ran into Judy, and we decided we needed to help Eastern Idaho and Northern Idaho become more involved in public television, because most of it was being supported by the state of Ada, as we affectionately call Boise.
State of Ada.
And so we said, but let's have a challenge. And so we challenged each other to how much money we could raise in eastern Idaho and in northern Idaho during March. In fact, I'm going over very soon for the festival this March. Gosh, I think it's been 20 years, Nate. I'm not sure about that. It's been about 20 years. But we've raised several $1 million for public television for that challenge. And eastern Idaho wins every time.
Hey, that's something to
I
say.
mean, it is.
And so how does the challenge work? If I want to donate to Idaho Public Television, I need to wait for this challenge, it sounds like.
Well, you can donate any time, but you want to go to the Anne Voilleque challenge.
Okay.
And just challenge the Anne Voilleque challenge.
Okay. And do you have to live in eastern Idaho?
Yes, you have to be in eastern Idaho. I am not going to match dollars from Boise or Twin Falls or, some other place.
Yeah, but if you live here
Soda Springs,
and you do that, then you'll match
I'll
the
match
dollars.
what you give. But you have to give at least $120.
Okay. Do you recall the year where you gave the most? Or the most?
Each year has been more.
Really?
Yeah.
That's great.
Each year and I didn't hear last year's number, and don't ask me what it was because I'll never remember, but each year eastern Idaho comes through tremendously, hundreds of thousands, yeah.
You are actively involved in global causes for women.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that. And you got to meet Gaddafi.
Gaddafi, I have a prayer rug at my house that Muammar Gaddafi gave me. 1977, the University of Idaho had some Libyan professors, and they wanted to have a connection with the University of Idaho and Libya some way, more than just agriculture. They were here for agricultural reasons. And the wife of one of the professors was very much involved in the women's movement at the time. We were trying to pass the ERA at that point, and Equal Rights Amendment. And they decided to send a cadre of women to Libya to work with the Libyan Women's Union on literacy issues for women. So about 12 of us were picked to go. At the time, I was on the national board of the American Association of University Women, so I went. The president of AAUW went, Marjorie Bell Chambers from New Mexico. Dr. Yvonne Condell from Minnesota went, and several of the others of us. Interestingly, though, Nate, we got to Washington to get our visas to go, pick them up. And the women from now were not allowed to go because they were all Jewish.
Really?
And that was my first sort of moment of realizing that we were, maybe this wasn't going to be a cakewalk. So anyway, the women from now didn't go. And it ended up being only women from AAUW and also the League of Women Voters. There were 2 or 3 women from the League, from the National League who went. Anyway, during the visit, it was a wonderful trip, actually. It turned out to be an absolutely life-changing trip. We met many, many women who were interested. Gaddafi at that time was very interested in women's literacy and education, and educating his women. And he wanted to educate women so that they could take positions in the government, not necessarily of power, but at least to show that he had some effect on women having a little more interest in government. So anyway, we met lots of really, really interesting women and went to some schools, met a lot of children. But it was a wonderful trip. Anyway, the Gaddafi thing, he invited us to meet him. And we were picked up in these Mercedes-Benzes and driven all over Benghazi, and finally, ended up in his palace and waited for a very long time, probably 3 or 4 hours for him to show up, sitting on these huge cushions and these beautiful Persian carpets all around. I mean, it was just an amazing, looked like a scene out of one of the Disney movies.
Really?
It was just amazing.
Aladdin
or
yeah.
something. I mean, you would think of that. Anyway, he came sweeping in, and incredibly handsome, very gracious, extraordinarily charming, and asked us why we had killed Jesus. And none of us really had an answer to that.
And he was serious.
He was deadly serious and sort of lectured us about his faith and welcomed us. I mean, he was just incredibly gracious about it. And at the end, he gave us each a prayer rug.
Wow.
And I have my prayer rug. I think it's the one thing my children will fight over.
That's a souvenir.
It's a beautiful rug, and it's a tribal rug. It's a small town, little tribal rug. It's really, really interesting.
With the whole Me Too movement, have things improved since the time that you were over there? I mean, how would you say that, has there been progress, and what would have been your observations?
Well, Libya, of course, is a mess.
Yes.
But the Me Too movement in this country certainly is making tremendous progress. I think, I love men. Some of my best friends are men. And I don't know, we may start to really
I hope so.
Love each other.
Yeah.
I don't think the Me Too movement is really anti-male. I think it's more about women finally standing up and saying, hey, we have things to offer, and if we could just, get our foot in the door, we could make things happen. And it's happening. My gosh, the new Congress is just astonishing. So I'll be anxious to see how that all plays out in the next 2-4 years.
You mentioned Congress. The person that told me about you is a conservative Republican.
Yes.
And he says, you are a liberal Democrat.
Yes.
Yet you guys are two of the best friends. You're saying it's okay to be friends with someone that doesn't agree with you. Imagine
really,
that.
I love this young man. He went to school with my daughter. I know. I have lots of really conservative Republican friends. In fact, almost all my friends are Republican because, we live in Idaho.
I want to ask you about that. What is it like to be a liberal Democrat living in eastern Idaho?
Well, it's easy. It's easy because it's easy to talk to people. And, we may differ on certain areas of life, but we almost always meet in the middle. I mean, there's much more contribution between two people than there is division. One of my dearest friends is a lifelong Republican, and every once in a while we'll get into a discussion about the economy or politics or something, and we meet in the middle. It's been wonderful for her, and it's been wonderful for me, because you do mellow. One mellows after a while. Sheila Olson was a friend of mine.
Very prominent Republican.
Very prominent Republican woman. Her children went to school with my kids, and Sheila and I had some differences, but we were always cordial and very kind with each other. She was a wonderful woman. I miss her. I miss her civility right now.
You were also openly gay, from what I understand, before gay marriage was legal.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And would you say, in a way, that may have been harder than being a Democrat in eastern Idaho? I don't know if that's a poorly stated question.
Well, no, it's not a bad one. No, I think it's harder to be a liberal Democrat in eastern Idaho
than to be a lesbian in the 90s.
In Idaho. Yeah, I really do, because people are very kind, and they loved me before I came out, and they loved me after I came out, and my partner. I was more worried about it than they were. I was more concerned than they were. I don't know if you've ever had a friend come out to you as a gay person, but what happens is, when you're in the closet, as we say, you're terrified that people won't like you, people won't accept you, or you'll be, kicked out of your groups or whatever it is, shamed in some way. And when you finally come out, people say, so, hi, I love you. It's amazing. And I hope you have that experience someday.
I've had friends not having me be the very first person they tell, but tell me, and you're right, I still love them. They're still my friend.
Yeah.
But did you face backlash?
Not that I know of.
You didn't lose any friends?
Oh, no. No, in fact, I think my partner and I both have been told many, many times we're sort of the grandparents of the gay movement. In Bonneville County, we've had so many young people thank us. We've made friends, I think, as a result of this. If I've lost friends, let me just say I haven't missed them. I don't know who I lost.
And you haven't noticed?
Haven't noticed.
Well, that's something to think about, not just on this issue, but any other issue.
It is, because this is a very friendly community if you just take time to get to know people. It's a very welcoming community. We have the whole schism between the Mormon church and the non-Mormons, and the gay people and the non-gay people, and the Democrats and the Republicans, but we somehow manage to all sit down and eat together and go to parties together and have fun together.
What would you say over you said 50 plus years you've lived here?
Yeah.
What have been some of the biggest changes you've seen in the community in eastern Idaho in general?
Oh gosh, it's just the community itself has changed so much. The economic boon, the building that's gone on. Again, the arts organizations that have flourished in the last 50 years, it's just phenomenal. The schools have gotten larger and more, I think, more inclusive. Compass Academy is just a wonderful, wonderful place. You've got daycare centers that are now licensed and doing well. There's just lots of, it's just grown. It's doubled in size, I think, since I moved here. We have to have sustained growth that we can support. And part of that growth, in fact, I'm working with a group right now about this very subject. Part of that growth has to do with we don't have enough housing here for all these people that we want to hire for these high-tech jobs. We don't have the education right now set up to educate young people in the technical skills. CEI, College of Eastern Idaho, is on top of it, I think, and so's ISU. But we need to put some things in place before growth overcomes us. But housing is a huge issue.
It says here that you created an endowment professorship in the Native American Business Administration program, $1 million to help American Indians afford college.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, oh gosh, I just think that we owe our Native people a lot. And I was able to talk to ISU, and they had actually the endowment has changed somewhat. It's now not just for the College of Business, it's for the entire university. So we're now giving scholarships to Indian students who are not just in business, but are mostly in the College of Arts and Letters, but also in the health sciences. But I felt I had the assets and I was able to do it, and this is what we decided to do because we felt that the Native Americans really do need a head start. And it's been wonderful to meet some of these folks.
I bet.
We don't pick them. We just, there's a group that does that at ISU, but we've had great success. It's been a wonderful program.
How would you say being so involved in the community has enriched your life?
Oh gosh, it's who I am. It's made me who I am. Getting out, we can all sit home and moan and complain, But you've got to get out into your environment and into the world to see what's going on and to get involved in that and not be afraid. Fear, I think, is what holds us back so much from doing things that we should be doing, or other people may think you should be doing.
Yeah.
You just have to realize that your contribution can be just huge, no matter how big or how small. I mean, it's amazing the difference one person can make in a person's life.
Is there one thing, looking back over the 50 years, that you're particularly proud of?
No, I can't. I can't think of any one particular thing. It's all been just really great fun, and it continues to be. I got a little more steam left, I think.
Well, and with that steam, what do you hope to accomplish in the next 5, 10, 20 years?
Well, I'd love to see the Civic Center for the Performing Arts really get totally completed. One of the big drawbacks of completing that project is passing the bond for the new high school for Idaho Falls. The city owns part of that high school, and we really need to expand into another part of the high school, the little theater part, to really create a Center for Performing Arts that we want to create. If we don't pass that bond, it'll be years before we can really see that happen. And I think I heard something interesting, Nate, the other day. When Idaho Falls High School was built, it was actually built on the outskirts of Idaho Falls. And people complained because they thought, they're never going to get there. How are these kids going to get to school? And well, look at what happened. The town all of a sudden surrounded Idaho Falls High School. Right now, the location of the new high school, there's houses going up like crazy out there, and I think the same thing's going to happen. But it's that fear of change. Change just bothers people a lot, and I don't know if it's really dramatic change if we convert Idaho Falls High School into a professional technical high school. I mean, does that really mean that your memories are gone and that you don't have any love for that place? It makes no sense to me. The plans for the school are just wonderful.
It will be interesting to see what happens with that. Well, Anne, it's been a pleasure talking with you and getting to know a little bit more about you and what you've done for the community. And like I said, if you go out to the symphony, you'll probably see her, or the arts, or anything like that. Anne Voilleque, a valued member of our community. Again, thanks for coming in. Thank you for watching. Have a good week.